كتاب الله 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 كتاب الله.
Now the next subject is hypocrisy. Allah Almighty describes hypocrisy as a disease. Right in the beginning of the Quran, in the second section of Surah Al-Baqarah, you find وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. And amongst people are few, are some, who say we believe in Allah and the Day of Judgment. Remember here, they didn't say that we believe in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are people who say we believe in Allah and the Day of Judgment, but they are not believers. It has two meanings. They pretend to believe in Allah and the Day of Judgment, in fact they don't. Or, since they don't believe in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as Allah's messenger, so they are not believers. يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. They try to deceive Allah and the believers. وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ. In fact, they don't deceive except themselves. فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ. They are suffering from a trouble in their heart. They are suffering from a disease in their heart. فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. Thus Allah will enhance them. Allah will advance them in their problem, in their disease. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْذِبُونَ. There is a painful punishment for them because of their false attitude, because of their lying practice. We normally assume that probably hypocrites were only those who joined Islam to spite against Islam, or to defame Islam. There is a group mentioned in Surah Al-Imran that the Jews prepared certain people to join Islam in the morning hours and turn out of Islam in the evening. And to say, oh, we have seen from inside, it's nothing. So that the good reputation of Islam, that anyone who joins Islam, no matter what you do to him, he is not going to turn out. But the ayah which I have decided to use from Surah Al-Baqarah, it is evident to us that it is a disease. And about disease, you know very well. None of us, none ever falls ill with his choice. Does it? He always faces a disease, he suffers from a disease. Number one. And number two, it's never written on the face of a patient that he is suffering from such and such disease. Do you agree with me? How do you come to know that Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so or boy so-and-so is suffering from such and such problem? How do you come to know? From signs and symptoms. You know, disease always manifests through signs and symptoms. So number one, hypocrisy is a disease. فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ. And number two, it must manifest through signs and symptoms. Now there are signs and symptoms both discussed in the Quran as well as in the Hadith. Hadith is very well known. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Min alamat al-marad, ayat al-munafiq salat." There are three signs of a hypocrite. Idha haddasa kadhib, whenever he speaks, he lies. Wa idha wa'ada akhlaf, and when he makes a promise, he betrays. Wa idha tumina khana, and when some pledge is kept with him, he cheats. And in another hadith, he added another, idha khasama fajara, when he is in argument, he loses his temper and starts fighting. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has his own way of description. Simple. But Quran, Kalamullah, it has its own description. It's not the style of Quran to describe the things like this, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Quran has its own style. Quran mentions the attitude of the hypocrites only at different occasions. For example, at the advent of Ghazwatul Ahzab, you know what happened? 12,000 warriors from all over Arabs were surrounding Medina. 12,000. And a small town, Medina. A few thousand residents. And 12,000 are surrounded. Muslims cannot go out even for the cause of nature. Now, a clear demarcation came up. Same situation, but different response. Those who had the problem of hypocrisy in their heart, they shouted out. They bursted out. Ma wa'adallahu wa rasuluhu illa ghurura. Oh, we were deceived by Allah and His Messenger. We were told that such and such empires will be under you. And today we are going to lose even this small town Medina. We have been deceived. Whereas in the same situation, the response of the true believers was, Hāzā mā wa'adana Allāhu wa rasūluhu wa sadaqa Allāhu wa rasūluhu. This was the warning given to us by Allah and His Messenger, that you will be tested very well. Inshallah, the next lesson will be about that test, about that trial from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hāzā mā wa'adana Allāhu wa rasūluhu. Allah told us, pre-warned us, أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِن قَبْلِكُمْ مَسَّتْهُمُ الْبَأْسَاءُ وَالضَّرَّاءُ وَزُلْزِلُوا حَتَّى يَقُولَ الرَّسُولُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ مَتَىٰ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ أَلَا إِنَّ نَصْرَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ. We were pre-warned. Do you think that you will enter paradise? Whereas we have not faced but those before you faced. What was that? Masathumul ba'saw, they faced hunger. Waddarraw, and adversity. Wazulzilu, and they were shaken well. Hatta yaqula ar-rasulu walladhina amanu ma'ahu mata nasrullah, until even the messengers had to cry, and their companions too had to cry, Mata nasrullah, when would Allah's help come? Allah inna nasrallahi qareeb. Yes, now Allah's help is just around the corner. So the believers, the true believers, they were concentrating on such ayat and saying, Hāzā mā wa'ada Allāhu wa rasūluhu wa sadaqa Allāhu wa rasūluhu. So this is a sign of hypocrisy. When the hard time comes, what is your response? How you respond to it? And many other symptoms, many other signs have been described in the Quran. You know, in an organization, it's always a problem. The members of the organization, they are not ready to listen to the Amir. Quran quotes at the battle of Badr, at the battle of Uhud. You know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the head of the hypocrites, Abdullah ibn Ubay, coincidentally had the same opinion, that we should fight from inside. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam consulted the Sahaba, and most of them opted to go out and fight. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was kind enough. He considered the opinion of Sahaba and opted to go out and fight. And you know what happened? 70 of very precious companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, including Hamza and Musab bin Umair radiallahu anhuma, were martyred. Abdullah ibn Ubay, on his way to Uhud, left Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with 300 of his companions, 300 of his followers, saying, since our opinion has not been honored, we are not going to die and make suicide there. When there were 70 martyred, now Abdullah ibn Ubay was waiting for this to happen. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came back, he said, had you listened to me, you would not have been lying murdered there. Ma qutilna ahun. Now it should be decided once for all how the decisions will be made. Would we too have a say in decision making? Hal lana min al-amri min shay'? Now this very often happens in our meetings too. Now, as I said, Quran is a guidance. And one who recites the Quran regularly, he will get guidance from the Quran. Yesterday afternoon there was a meeting, and I shouted at Amir, look, you didn't listen to us and you made the decision on your own. And this was the problem. And this morning I was reading Surah Al-Imran in my recitation, and I find out that, I acted upon the sunnah of Abdullah bin Ubay. What does that mean? I acted as a munafiq, because this is the sign of an-nifaq. Allah Almighty has described this subject throughout the Quran. Most of the surah revealed at Medina, they discuss this subject. And it's a very interesting subject, full of guidance for all of us. To look into that mirror, our own face. How we also behave like hypocrites. But there is a surah on this subject, a beautiful surah of the Quran, just after Surah Al-Jumu'ah. Just giving the description. And not only description, then in the second section, telling us how to get rid of it, how to avoid it too. So, we don't have much time. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إذا جاءك المنافقون. When the hypocrites come to you, O Prophet, قالوا نشهد إنك لرسول الله, they will say, we bear witness that you are indeed Allah's messenger. والله يعلم إنك لرسول. Whereas Allah knows well that you are indeed Allah's messenger. Wallahu yashhadu innal munafiqina lakadibun. But Allah also bears witness that hypocrites are certainly liars. They are saying a correct statement, but since they don't believe, from their mouth it's a wrong statement. اتخذوا أيمانهم جنة. They use their oaths as a cover. They use their oaths as a cover.